really excited to be sharing a really short reflection with you guys about apprenticeship in the theme of the week. And I'm going to be talking today about co-apprenticeship and this idea of doing this journey of following Jesus with others. And as we see in the Gospels, this is something that Jesus modelled really well. We have these 12 disciples, 12 apostles who are following Jesus, and they're all super different. We've got people who are like in bed with Rome, have been traitors to their people, who are having to live and eat and sleep alongside a guy that was kind of a freedom fighter who would have been like the absolute enemies of one another, and suddenly they're having to do life together. And I'm sure there was more tensions than arose than just that. I'm sure those rowdy fishermen also, there was tension. And I've been thinking a bit about that, and I don't think it was an accident that Jesus called these guys together, and I don't think it was an efficiency thing. I think in some ways it would be easier for Jesus if he'd have had like a slot system, and if he'd have taken them consecutively, like, okay, Peter, you can have from January to March, and then John, you can have from March to June, and then kind of giving them each their own little slot to follow him, figure out how to do it, and then go off on their own. But Jesus doesn't do that, and I think that's there's a real reason behind that. I don't think it's just about efficiency. I think there's a reason because we're supposed to do this journey of apprenticing to Jesus together. And that is not always easy. Doing this journey with other people is allowing them to challenge us, allowing them to point out things in us. Anyone who has ever lived with a housemate or lived with someone that they maybe haven't naturally chosen to live with, maybe even siblings growing up, might recognise that friction that can come about from living with someone who you're not choosing, or even in marriage, living with people who you do choose. There is this friction when you do life closely with each other, and I think there's something so beautiful in this idea of co-apprenticeship, of doing this journey alongside each other. And these relationships are so important in our journey of faith, in our journey of following Jesus. These relationships that are deeper than a Sunday morning, hi, how are you? Deeper than a quick catch up about our kids over a glass of wine. And those relationships are also really important. I'm not going to negate those relationships. But actually there is something really powerful about these deeper friendships of people who are on the journey with us, on the journey of apprenticing to Jesus with us, who are going to encourage us, who are going to love us, who are going to be with us in the hardest days of our life, who are going to show up for us on those days, who are going to celebrate with us when we get those test results back, or celebrate with us when our child is doing really well at something. Those people who are going to be in our life with us. And those relationships are also, they're not just the happy, nice feeling friendships as well. These are also the people in our lives who are gonna call us out if we go a bit off-piste in life, and be like, hey mate, I love you. And because I love you, I'm going to say this to you. I think maybe you're missing the mark in here, and I don't think you're seeing it. I know in my life, those friendships are some of the most powerful for me, are the friends who are willing to call me out if there's stuff I'm not seeing in my life. And this journey of apprenticeship is so powerful, and I love that we see that in the Bible. And I think friendship is the most underrated type of relationship in the Christian faith. We talk a lot about marriage, and marriage is so beautiful, but actually the thing that we can't live without as human beings is not marriage, it's friendship. We need friendship to survive. All marriages should be built on friendship. Jesus didn't have a spouse, but he did have friends. He calls the disciples his friends. And friendship is, these deep godly friendships are actually so crucial to the way that we live our lives, to our longevity, to keep us going. I was talking about this recently with somebody, that actually sometimes we need our friends to have faith for us in an area where we can't have faith for ourselves. And that can be so crucial in those hard moments. And some of you might be thinking, there's this joke that says, we always forget that Jesus' biggest miracle is that he had 12 close friends in his 30s. And I, having recently turned 30, can kind of relate to that. It's really hard to maintain really deep friendships as you go on in your life. And there was a time in my life, probably about 5 years ago, where God really lovingly and delicately, but quite strongly challenged me about a blind spot in my life I didn't see, where actually he said to me, Jess, you've got a lot of acquaintances and you don't really have any friends. And I was like, okay. But it rang so true. It felt like, oh, thank you for showing me this blind spot. But I didn't know what to do with that. That was kind of I don't really know where to go from that. You can't just like decide to have more friends. I spoke to someone about it, and they suggested that I pray, and I was a bit like, oh, okay, fine, pray about it. But I prayed, and I felt like the Lord put a name on my heart. And it wasn't that I went to this person and was like, okay, the Lord has told me to be your friend. I think that might have been a little bit strange. But what I did is I really invested in that relationship. I said, hey, can we meet for coffee? Can we, I don't know, go and do things, start going on walks, whatever it might be. And this person was really reciprocal to that, and she was really, and it turned out that she had also had this sense from God that actually to pursue this relationship. And it can sound a bit like, but we aren't people who would have naturally been friends otherwise. We don't have loads and loads in common, aside from being the same age. We see the world very differently. The way we do faith is quite different, but actually it is one of the most godly and beautiful friendships in my life, because she challenges me. She challenges me to see things differently, to take another point of view. And it's so powerful having this Christ-focused friendship in my life, and I'm actually really lucky now. I have more than the one. I have my husband and I have various other people, but it was really challenging to be like, oh gosh. And I recognise that for some people this might touch a nerve, and you might be thinking, gosh, I'm not sure that I have any co-apprentices on this journey with me. And I want to encourage you, first of all, if you're not in a home group, I would highly encourage you, go and join one. You won't regret it. You won't regret having people who you're seeing regularly to do this life journey with. And it doesn't matter if they're not like you. It doesn't matter if they're not your age. It doesn't matter if they're going through different things. Actually, God can really use that. If you are in one and you're still feeling like, oh gosh, I'm feeling a bit like I don't have these kind of relationships, I'd encourage you, maybe think about being vulnerable with someone in your group and saying, hey, I'd really like to have that kind of deeper relationship. And also, if you're struggling with loneliness on a deeper level, and there is no shame if you are, loneliness is a massive epidemic in the world that we live in today. I want to highly encourage you, go and talk to one of the church leaders. Go and talk to Andy. Actually, it's really important to be honest about where we are, and none of us are meant to do this journey alone. An apprenticeship, while it is deeply intimate and personal with Jesus, it's also not a solo sport. I really think this idea of co-apprenticeship, of doing it, this journey of following Jesus with others, is so important. And so I want to encourage you, think about it, maybe take some time to pray, and maybe take some time to think about how you're going to invest your time in these co-apprenticeship, these people who not only are you going to be loved and challenged and encouraged by, but who are you going to love and challenge and encourage in the next week, in this time of Lent. Maybe think about, how can I invest in my friends? How can I be someone? Sometimes we focus on how can I get those friends, which is really important, but also how can I be that friend? How can I be that co-apprentice to these people in my life as well? So I'm going to leave it there, and thank you so much for allowing us to be part of this Lent Reflection series. It's been a real joy, and yeah, hopefully see you all soon.